This is Live from the Table, a Comedy Cellar affiliated podcast. Coming at you on Sirius XM 99 Raw Dog and the Laugh Button Podcast Network. This is Dan Naturman, along, of course, with Noam Dworman, owner of the world-famous Comedy Cellar. We have with us Periel Aschenbrand. She's been called a producer. Noam is not necessarily in accord with that designation, but she is involved in a booking capacity, and I guess does other things as well. And we have our sound wizard, Nicole Lyons, is with us. She doesn't say a lot, but she is there. And we have with us today Shuli Egar, a 15-year veteran of the Howard Stern Show. He's also the host of the Shuli Show, a very popular podcast, and a comedian. Hello, Shuli.
Hello. Thank you, everybody, for having me. It's good to see you guys.
How you doing, Shuli?
I'm doing great, man. Good to be back out here. Good to seeing all old friends and faces. And
how did the pandemic treat you?
Good. We moved. We got out of Dodge. We left New York.
Your family or the Howard Stern Show?
No, my family. Yeah. I mean, the show. We were all working from home anyway, so I checked with management time and time again about. Doesn't matter where home is. And they said, no, we don't see us coming back anytime soon. As long as you have the ability to connect to the show and do the work, no problem. So
you're still not back?
No. So here's the story. We started looking for places, and we ended up finding a place in a little town called Huntsville, Alabama, down south, which we knew nothing about. And during the quarantine, we snuck out. Our neighborhood essentially got pretty bad during the pandemic.
Where were you?
We were in Queens, and I have two little girls. Our building, they tried to break into it 3 times in 1 month. There was other stuff going on, and it deteriorated really fast. And so I was just like, why? Plus, I think the pandemic kind of reconnected me and my family in the first place because, you're in New York. It's like the fastest lazy river ever, right? You get dropped in and you just go. And being home and being with them and not doing road gigs on the weekends.
Did that hurt your marriage or help it?
It helped.
Oh, yeah.
It helped a ton.
Yeah.
But they were not on the top of my list, and that's what the pandemic made me realize. They got to be up on top of my list. So
cue the violins, Nicole. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So my folks went, I have 2 older brothers. They left Israel to come to the States for us. And so I felt like, you know what? Let's find a place for them and do what we got to do, right? I learned from them. And I knew the language. I had money. They had very little of each of those things when they came to the States. So we just went out there. We checked it out because we knew nothing about the South other than what you hear and the jokes and whatever. And it was amazing. The people out there were so welcoming, so nice. It wasn't the Wild West where people were, stomping out vaccines and saying it's all fake. People were wearing masks. People were following rules.
In Huntsville, Alabama?
Absolutely. Huntsville is one of the most modernized parts of Alabama. Actually, a lot of people say there's Huntsville and then there's Alabama. They have Googles out there.
What about abortion?
What about abortion? I haven't had one since we've been there.
Is it a pro-life? Is it going to be a pro-life state? Alabama sounds ominous.
I don't know what the status of it is now. Listen, my point is like no one was going to break into my house in Alabama and give my kid an abortion. I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about somebody in New York busting into our apartment. We're on the first floor. It ain't going to be hard to get to. And so for me, it's like you got to choose the lesser of 2 evils. And I didn't see anything.
You make it sound like there's a binary choice between Queens and Huntsville, Alabama.
No, there was other choices, but financially for what we wanted,
I think it's great.
At the end of the day, I went from a 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment to a 6-bedroom house with 2 acres of land with my kids being able to ride bikes, have sleepovers, watch them be kids. I love that we have our time here in the city, that we I met my wife here. We started our family here. I love that. I love that they got the street smarts of New York. But at the same time, I can't just put her on a bike I can't just put her on a train and go to school, So for me, it was about what's best for them.
What's going in Huntsville? Isn't there? Was there like a Toyota factory or something? What's going on there?
There's a ton. There's Google's out there. The FBI's out there. They have a military compound called the Arsenal that employs about 30,000 people. I'm per capita. Huntsville has the most millionaires in the South because of all the tech that is going on out there. I'm surrounded. I got a guy across the street from me that's a computer guy for Department of Defense. I got another guy who's a explosives expert, works down at the surrounded by all these brilliant, like, manly men, and I'm telling
So it's like the Austin. What they say about Austin is that Austin is sort of the oasis of liberalism and intellect in Texas, and you're saying that Huntsville is analogous, perhaps, in Alabama.
That's my friend who had been talking to me for years about just getting property out there, because it's exactly what he said. He said this is going to be another Austin out here. It's going to be another, boom.
So you're saying it's an investment opportunity.
It ended up being that as well. Absolutely.
Noam's giving me a smirk.
I'm saying, of course, I don't want to make a Jewish joke. I'm just saying, like, it's an investment.
It's not all about safety. Is what
no,
Noam's saying.
Exactly. He saw promise.
I mean,
no, look, I'm a huge believer in I try to go tell Periel all the time to stay in the suburbs. Your kids can everything you sound like me. I'm sure Periel was thinking that you sound like me when you say that. But there's places like in northern Westchester, that are also
absolutely
similar.
Absolutely. Look, the best investment you can ever make is real estate, right? And like, so now, we've been talking because I come back here every few months. I do like a 2-week run, do a bunch of podcasts, see all my friends. I miss that action. I absolutely do. I don't have that out there. The show is going great, but like this is where I felt the most alive in New York, is running around, doing spots, saying hi to friends, hearing their nightmare stories, sharing all of it. That is what I miss the most is the fraternity that I left, right? And then eventually I ended up leaving the show as well.
You're not on the show anymore?
No, I haven't been on in about 2 years.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Once I got out there, I had the peace of mind of where we're living and everybody is happy and whatever. And then just the job had changed so much once the pandemic started. Once we started working from home, my role on the show changed a lot, and there was, for me, I didn't see it getting back to where it was.
How did it change?
It went from, for example, you're a longtime listener, so you might understand this more than some other people, but when something's going on the air and Howard's talking about it, and you have information on that, you go to Gary, who's the executive producer, and you say, "Hey, Gary, I have something to add to this." And when you're starting out there, Gary's a very smart producer. He says, "What do you have?" And he listens to everything you have to say, and he makes the decision whether or not you go in. And I had gotten to a point where I built the trust with Gary, with Howard, where whatever's going on, I could go, "I got something on this, go in." And once we started working from home, all of that changed. All of a sudden, there was all these toll booths in the way now, and you have to run this by this person, and not everybody that's in charge is been a part of the show, been a part of radio, and so it was just frustrating. I felt like I was starting back at square one, and so I said, "Look, I'm happy where I live. The only kind of unhappiness I have right now," and it had nothing to do with Howard. Like Howard, I love the guy. He gave me every opportunity in the world. It had nothing to do with him. It was more of a management thing than anything else. At the end of the day, I understand they're the same people, but I'm not going to badmouth the guy. I didn't deal with him on a one-on-one basis as much as I dealt with management. So I tried to work something out with them where I could do part-time, and at first they were okay with it, and then it was a question of I can't kind of do my own thing even though I'm out of that umbrella, and that was frustrating to me. And I just said, "You know what? I'll just go." I said, "It's fine. You don't have to work. I'm not looking to start a podcast and badmouth a guy. If you want me to sign an NDA, I'll sign an NDA. But at the end of the day, I still want to be able to do my thing, tell stories of, working there, meeting I have great stories meeting Norm there for the first time. It has nothing to do with Howard, but am I going to get in trouble for sharing those stories because it had to do with my time frame of being there? So, I decided to leave the show, and I left, and I started my.
You had to sign. You signed an NDA, or you can't talk
No,
about it?
I didn't.
Oh, you didn't sign an NDA.
I didn't sign NDA. Yeah.
And how'd you replace the income?
So, I knew one thing. Howard would not talk about this on his end. When people leave the show for whatever reasons, it's usually never brought up again. They just move forward. And so I figured, look, I have a shot to do something where I can tell my side of things, explain what happened, and do it in a way where I don't shit on my old employer, because that doesn't help me in any way for the future. And so I started a podcast, and right out the gate, the numbers were crazy, and it supplemented our income immediately, along with some part-time writing stuff that I picked up. I was hustling. I also moved to the South at the time, where the only place you could do stand-up in the South, indoors, was in the South at like 25% capacity. No comics were flying anywhere. So I got dropped into this hot zone of like, oh, there's a guy who does stand-up. Can he come to Atlanta? Can he come to Mississippi? Can he come here? So, I got off the ground running really fast and bulked
What's
up.
going on in Mississippi comedy-wise?
Not good. Not good. It literally was one of those gigs where I saw the club on my left. I was about to turn into it, and everything in my body said, just make it a U-turn. Just go right back home. And
I don't think I've ever literally met anybody from Mississippi.
it was one of the worst shows I've ever. Like even the owner was trying to talk me out of doing it, which is never a good. He goes, "Look, you don't have to do a headline." He goes, "Do 10 minutes if you want." He goes,
Wait.
"It's fine."
Can I ask you a question? Did
Yeah.
you grow up in Israel?
I left when I was 4.
Okay.
Yeah, so I went
The
back.
same age, I think, as Gene Simmons left, roughly.
Chaim, my boy Chaim.
Uh-huh.
I met him once outside of Sirius. Is actually a good story. I see him. I'm not a huge Kiss fan, but I know Gene. We're Jews. We're boys. We're Israelis. I said, I'm going to go talk to this guy. So I walk over, and he's staring straight ahead. He's by himself. He's just staring straight ahead. And I come up on the side of him, and I go, Mr. Simmons, big fan. And he doesn't look at me like you're me. He doesn't look at me. He just goes like this with his fist. For a pound. So already, I love it. I go, I'm in. So I give him the pound, and I go, he says to me, I said, I'm a writer and a comic for the Stern Show. And he says, what's your name? And I said, Shuli. And then he looks at me, and he goes, Israeli. And I said, yeah. And then he looks straight again, and he goes, let me hear your opening joke right now.
Really?
Yeah.
What a guy.
So I go,
Not a bad impression, by the way.
thank you. I go right into it, I said, I like getting massages. Today was the first time I had a guy massage me. It was not by choice. It was a bit of a surprise. I said, but I wasn't worried that he was going to try and bang me. I just was worried about getting a boner and digging it. I said, but I lasted the whole massage. No boner. Which was weird because I came so hard. and I look at it, and no shoulders chuckling, like nothing. No you just see 2 eyebrows go over his glasses, and he just goes, that's a pretty good joke. And so I said, and then we stood there in silence for 3 seconds, and I just said, all right, take care. I just walked off.
That's great.
But yeah.
I saw David Lee Roth on Lexington Avenue the other day,
How much
He used
money
to
did
hang
you
out
get?
here.
yeah, and I saw him. He's wearing sunglasses, gray hair. I'm walking by, and I said, "Hey," and he says, "Hey," but you could tell he couldn't place me, but he knew me, but he couldn't place me, but I just kept walking, and I imagine like as I got like half a block away, he's that's the guy. I hadn't seen him in so long, and I've gotten older or anything. But anyway,
You know who
I
else-
saw Ann Coulter on the Upper East Side, and she's been here several times.
yeah,
And I said, Ann, and she kind of just ran away. She probably thought,
she's used to people, hating on her
Right.
on
Yeah.
the street.
I can't imagine why.
but in any case,
you know who else I ran into since I've been out here this week as a Stern fan? You remember Elegant Elliot Off?
Oh yeah, I see him on the Upper East Side all the time, running in his. He wears women's clothes.
Yes.
Runs.
So I'm staying with James Mattern, my buddy.
Oh yeah, he lives on the Upper East Side too. Yeah.
Yeah, we started.
I didn't know you guys
together.
were buddies.
We started together in Vegas, me and him. We came out here together from
Wow.
Vegas.
Oh, I
yeah.
had no idea. Well,
Yeah.
I love James.
I love James too.
He's the best. So I'm walking down the street and I'm talking to my wife on the phone, and on the other side of the street, I see Elliot in lingerie, standing at the crosswalk, ready to cross, and he's standing and running in place. And I go, now I've known Elliot for years. I've done like stuff for the Stern Show
So
with
he's so
him. Like,
elegant.
he's Miss Elegant now, by the way. And so I'm like, oh my God, he's gonna lose his mind when he sees me. Like, what are the odds that he's here? I'm here, and he's running towards me, and I go, Elliot, and he looks, and I go, Shuli, and he goes, hello, Shuli, and then just keeps running. Didn't even stop for a second.
That's what Naturman
Well,
was doing.
you know, you can't when you're running. You don't stop.
Well, especially
I
lingerie.
mean, you're exercising. You don't ruin. You don't interrupt the rhythm.
Guy hasn't seen me in years. Just stop for 2 seconds.
You can stop. There's no law against it.
Yeah, check your pulse. Don't
Well,
you
I'm
stop
not.
when you
I'm
check
not
your
a.
pulse?
I'm not a jogger necessarily, but I would
Why-
imagine
It's
that.
not going to ruin your workout.
You're not a jogger yet. You defend this, man.
You stop at red lights.
Well, that's that. I'm not. Yeah, but that has not. That,
I'm just saying. You see. You
Yeah,
can
an
jog.
old friend is
Hey,
like
you
a red
jog-
light.
Oh yeah,
You're
yeah,
right.
Okay, you jog. You could jog in place, I guess.
Yeah.
He used it as a pretext to not stop.
Right. Right.
So I have to be honest. I haven't listened to Howard Stern show in a few years.
Well, when he went to
all of a
Sirius,
sudden.
I stopped listening. Yeah.
And I can't exactly say why. I used to listen all the time. I think what happened, and he wouldn't be happy to hear this, I got a Tesla. And the Tesla has the screen where finally it became very, very easy to listen to anything that I wanted, any podcast, anything at all. And there's, icon for everything. And I found myself no longer, with all that
Well, because
choice.
you're in charge.
Yeah, I no longer listen to Howard Stern. When I just had an XM radio, and it was just a choice between Stern and whatever music channels, I would spend a lot of time listening to Stern or the news.
Yeah.
But it's not the same Stern that we know from the terrestrial days.
Well, I don't know that the show has changed from when I used to listen to it. I don't know that it's a pandemic. I just know that the ultimate choice has probably not been a friend to him. As cars, and I don't know what percentage of listeners are in cars, but it's got to be 75% at least, right?
Well, I mean, the real question is how many? What's the percentage number of how many cars have Wi-Fi and that ability to be the captain of your own,
More
Right.
and more.
entertainment?
That's what I mean. As cars every year
Yeah.
have much more options in terms of what you can listen to, I think he's going to lose audience share. I mean, he's getting so old; he's probably going to retire soon anyway. But
Yeah, I think this might be his last. Contract.
How old is he? He's not
Not
70.
that old.
He's about
No, he's
60.
70. I
Is he
think
70?
close to 70. Yeah.
Very close.
Well, his parents are both still alive, aren't they?
No, his father just recently passed away.
Oh, he did.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, that must have been awful for him.
Yeah,
I mean, he must have been almost 100. The father.
he was. He was 99.
Wow.
Yeah,
And the mother's still alive.
mother's still alive, and they were on vacation. It was just a few weeks back, maybe.
Oh, Ben Stern. Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't even see that, but he died in July at 99. Wow.
What a career this man has had.
It's unbelievable.
Incredible.
Like, to think he was making $30 a week, working in some house in Hartford, broadcasting out of a house that turned.
Well, I have a story. I mean, I think this is true. Much of this I know is true. So I had a friend. His name is Doug Berman, who he went on later to become the producer of Car Talk. He discovered those guys and brought them to NPR.
That's not the Leno one, right? That's a podcast.
No, it was a radio show, Car Talk, of the two guys.
Oh, okay.
And then he also invented the NPR show Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me.
Okay.
So he was into radio even when we were in high school, and he was working at R&W, the Briarcliff Manor station, where
I love their root beer.
Howard Stern was working at that station at one time. It's in
Right.
the movie WRNW, and my friend was working there. Would be on the air late at night, and he needed. I think it was for the Stern show. He needed me to record the music for Alice's Restaurant on the guitar for a radio spot that they were making. They're doing a contest, and they wanted that as a background music. So I believe when I was in high school, I recorded, probably my first gig, I recorded incidental music before the Howard Stern show on
That's great.
WRNW. So that's how
wild.
long he's been on the air, and that's anyway.
So Noam wants his cut.
Yeah, I want my cut. That's my little run-in with Howard Stern.
Well, my run-in is a little more significant.
Not a
I-
run-in, whatever.
I was on AGT with him.
That's right.
And he defended you.
Yeah, I don't know to what extent. I mean, he was professed to be a fan of mine. I don't know to what extent the producers told him, "Look, we like this guy, and we want him to go forward. So be nice." I have no idea because
You can't tell Howard Stern what to do, can you?
I don't know. I don't know what you can tell. I mean, Howard Stern is, on network TV. Howard Stern is not the same as radio Howard Stern, and probably more willing to play ball.
Well, I see that I disagree with because when you think about it, that show originally was filmed out of L.A. and they picked up an entire show and moved it to the East Coast for one guy.
Yeah.
For him. They started broadcasting out of New York. That's pretty powerful.
Well,
shit.
maybe he was sincere.
Well,
I don't know.
This is my take.
But
on
he
it.
was he was nice.
This is-
Although I didn't get to be on his show, and maybe in the old days I could have been, but he became more and more just every A-list stars only. And
This is my take on Howard Stern. You tell me if I'm right or wrong. He has a Jewish head about certain things. He doesn't need to be told what to do. He's not a dick in the sense that, like, for instance, I hear the way he does his ads. He does the ads well.
Yeah.
He doesn't fuck with his sponsors. I hear other podcasts. You could tell they don't want to be reading the ad. They don't put, but he actually sells the product when he does an ad. He's hired by, and was it NBC, the AGT, I don't know, whatever network it was.
Yeah, it was Universal NBC.
He's hired by NBC to do this job. And he does it in good faith.
Absolutely.
And he knows that he's not on his radio show. He knows he can't talk about hookers or whatever it is. So he does a good faith version of, true to himself and who he is, on AGT. And I think that like he's kind of corporate in that way, even though he has this reputation for being so ornery in another way. I think he understands that he has to serve the show that he's doing properly. And that would mean on a show like AGT, doing it the way it needs to be done. And he knows that that's different than his radio show.
Plus, you have to factor in throughout his career, working in radio, you're not treated too well. And now he's on a network, huge, nationally, network show. I mean, imagine the treatment. Imagine how they were taking care of him. And he must have been like, holy shit, this is what this is like on the other side, right?
When he was doing dirty stuff and being difficult on his terrestrial radio show, that's an interesting dynamic because he knew, and he was right, what he was doing was making his show a huge success.
100%.
He would also know that if he took that attitude on AGT, he would tank the show because it's not that audience.
Well, it's one of the biggest gripes that long-term fans have is, is that how dare this guy evolve, right? How dare he not want to do bits with strippers and porn stars anymore? And, it's a common sense thing for me as a father of two girls. The older they get, the more you're sitting here going, this isn't right. Plus, he doesn't need to. Like, he wasn't squeaky clean corporate Howard when AGT came and moved a show for him. He was still Howard. He was still doing the raunchy stuff and whatever else, but not to the extent of like, the women's stuff. And a lot of the fans got upset with that. They're just like,
I never really loved that part of the show anyway. For me, lesbian dilated, I guess that was okay. But that sort of stuff. But what I really liked was him doing the news.
yes.
That to me was far and away the best part of the show. And when he was interviewing interesting people. As far as the strippers and I didn't
like the Sibian.
I didn't like Ramfar, that character, who I don't know how long it's been since he's even done that. Do you remember him?
I don't.
Oh, okay. I think I'm pronouncing it right. I didn't like Fart Man. I basically liked him doing the news, and so I didn't love some of the more outrageous shit.
I think
I liked Stuttering John interviews. I
Well,
always enjoyed those.
I think one of the things that drew me to it, especially the news and like the stuff that would start up between the staff and management and these fights that would
The
spill out
reality
on-
show aspect.
and the organic nature of it.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It was one of the most organic
That's
comedy shows
That's right.
that I like. They're doing the news, and then Jackie says something. Next thing you know, Jackie's getting his balls busted for 45 minutes
Yeah.
about this one thing that he said. And, to me, that was what I fell in love with this show, is it could go anywhere at any time.
Me too. It was honest. I mean, I grew up listening to Howard. I grew up in Queens, and as a teenager, I used to force my poor immigrant Israeli mother to listen to him on the way to school, and I'd never heard anything like that before in my life. It was so raw and so honest. And it just blew my mind that this was something that you could do. And I think that that really is true to who Howard is. And of course he's changed and he's evolved, and it's insane to expect that he wouldn't have, right? But he's still, and the whole thing
Well, I
with
think
the
they also
FCC and like really just being like, fuck you, like I'm going to say what I want. Like it's incredible.
Yeah.
Look, evolution is one thing, but if the evolution is at all insincere, I and I don't know that it is or it isn't, or if he's denying what he was, I think people might have an issue with that.
I think it's more of like a been there, done that type thing. I don't think he's I don't think inside of him there's a guy that wants to see a chick on the Sybian on the show. I think he's over that. It's like I lived in Vegas for 12 years. You don't go to a casino every day.
But maybe he should address that and say, yeah, I did these things that were great. I'm not into it. Maybe
Yeah,
he has.
He has.
Maybe he has. Because
Absolutely.
I don't really listen to him so much anymore. But, yeah. I mean,
I used to do
the fact that he's evolved is interesting in and of itself, and it's something worthy of discussion.
Well, and it led to a completely different type of show years later, where Artie was in there, and stuff got real with life choices and health and trying to help your friends and still all the while keeping this reality of like the staff. This guy's pissed at this guy, and this one's mad at this one, and I mean it was a lot of plate spinning on that show. A lot.
I gotta listen again. I'm gonna listen on the way home.
Do we want to discuss Adam Levine at all?
Yes. I mean, I'm interested.
What about Adam Levine?
Did he try to bang you too?
No.
I mean, this guy's on a roll.
Not yet.
Who did he try to bang?
Everyone. Who didn't he try to bang?
This is in the news this week?
This has been, yes, but not the news that you read, the news that I read.
It's gone viral. So apparently he, for a while now, has had a couple of gumads, as we like to say. And one of them started blowing up his spot by posting screenshots of the DMs that they were having.
Okay, but first of all, you know that
she
he's
do that?
married to a supermodel or a
Of
Victoria's
Victoria,
Secrets model, and she's pregnant with their third baby.
You say that like that's supposed to be. I must be like, how? Why would he do that when he's married?
No. That's not why I'm saying that. Although it is kind of fucking reasonable that if your wife's pregnant with your third baby, that maybe you're not trying to bang like Instagram influencers on the side.
One might take from that logic that it becomes more reasonable when your wife.
I literally saw it going across your forehead in your brain. I said, I can answer this for him right now.
Too fucking shay then. So he sent this girl, like he'd been trying to fuck these girls or fucking like all of these girls, and she went, yeah, there you go.
That's the Gumar. That's the
Yeah.
And well, obviously, he forgot her birthday or something.
Yeah, right?
He did something to piss her off.
Yeah.
You want to play it?
And we can't hear it. We got to get that sound working. Nicole will figure that out for next week. Oh, try it again. Last
Is
time.
she talking about him in this video?
Yeah.
Essentially, I was having an affair with a man who's married to a Victoria's Secret model. At the time, I was young, I was naive, and I mean, quite frankly, I feel exploited. I wasn't in the scene like I am now, so I was definitely very easily manipulated. Maroon 5 is practically elevator music at this point, so I'm sure you know who Adam Levine is. But Adam and I were seeing each other for about a year. After I stopped talking to him over, a period of months, this is how he came back into my life. He said, okay, serious question. I'm having another baby, and if it's a boy, I really want to name it Sumner. You okay with that? Dead serious.
Oh, my God. That will upset his wife way more.
Oh
than the
my
fact he's-
god! It's like you're thinking, how can you make this situation a million times worse?
Men are the worst.
Like, how fucking stupid is Adam Levine?
You know what would have made it worse? If the kid's born and she agreed to name it Sumner, and then she finds out it's named after his Guman.
By the way, Nicole, if you Google or if you go on YouTube and you enter Naturman and NRJ, you'll find a video with me and Mr. Adam Levine.
Oh.
So
Really?
Yes, because I was in Paris in about 12 years ago, and I did this guy named Mustafa El-Atrazi, who's you remember
I
Mustafa?
know. I remember that video. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a video, and I went in, and he said, "Oh, come on my radio show," which was a big radio show in Paris, and I went in there, and Levine and some other Maroon 5 guy I didn't recognize them.
Some other maroon.
Yeah, and
couple of
I didn't know
maroon.
who. I mean, I knew who Maroon 5 was. I just didn't recognize them. This was before Adam Levine was I mean, he was famous, I guess, but not nearly what he is
Not what he
now.
became.
And I didn't know who the fuck they were, but they said, "Oh, this is Maroon 5." Okay, so I sat down next to him, and I didn't really talk with them much. Maybe I said hello, but
So his wife is pissed.
No, she's thrilled.
Yeah.
No,
well,
but
here's the other thing that
Yeah.
came from this.
so I don't know if you want to pull that
Well,
up.
play some more?
Nicole.
Play the rest.
No,
Well, we
that's
get the
it.
idea.
Well, is there anything? Play the rest. It's almost over.
I'm in hell. Like, I have to be in hell at this point. I mean,
She's in
my
hell.
morals were unknowingly compromised. I was completely manipulated. I wanted to handle this privately. I never wanted to come forward because obviously I know the implications that come with doing what I do, making money the way I do, and being an Instagram model. So being tied to a story like this, it's like, I know the stereotypes. I had sent some screenshots recklessly to a few friends I thought I trusted, and one of them had attempted to sell to a tabloid. So here I am.
What a story.
It's amazing.
And
right?
other girls came out of the woodwork after her. So
I don't know about that. Did other
Yes.
women come out?
Yes, didn't they, Shuli? Didn't a bunch of other girls
I
come?
think there's a couple more that came, but one.
But he's
he
denied.
said he
it's
named her
because-
after my name.
But one of the things that happened from this was so they have screenshots of these DMs, and one of them he says like, "God, your body, it's so fucking hot. Oh my fucking God, your body." And it's become a meme. It's become viral where people post a dumb picture at the top of the DM, and then it has his comments underneath, and it went like global. Like,
Yeah.
there's nowhere his wife can go where this isn't online, where this isn't being talked.
But it should be noted that he has denied having an affair with this woman. Is that correct?
Men.
Well, but he said he was
Denied.
inappropriate, but he apologized for inappropriately, I don't know what, doing
Oh,
something. But
brother.
he has denied cheating on her name, by the way, is Bahati Primslu, is the name of his wife, and she's a white woman, which I wouldn't have guessed given the name.
So he's gonna name his son Sumner. Was that the name?
Sumner.
Sumner
Sumner.
after a girl he didn't even have sex with. She was just his pal.
Right. Wants to name it after a pen pal.
Well, I don't know why you'd want to name a kid after someone you cheated on your wife with either. I mean,
Because
but-
he's trying to titillate
It's
her.
outrageous. It's outrageous.
And here's me on Réveillez-vous avec Nikos about 12 years ago. And you see there Mr. Adam Levine, and then I don't know who that guy is in the middle, but I guess he's another maroon.
That's amazing, Dan.
Well, you click play and we'll hear a couple seconds.
He played the Village Underground Maroon 5 before they
did
were
he?
famous. Yeah.
Convaincu de rentrer avec moi chez moi. Donc, j'ai dû appeler mon coloc Mamadou pour lui dire de foutre le camp.
La table, la table.
Mon coloc Mamadou, j'adore. On va traduire hors antenne.
Hey, but this is French, Dan.
I understand, but you get a little flavor of it. Wow, I look so much. I mean, that was about 12 years ago, and I look a lot younger there. Holy shit.
Your French is really impressive. It never ceases.
So can we
to
talk about more
amaze me.
about Adam Levine?
Yes.
Yes.
Periel.
All right, but that's interesting, Noam.
Yes, you're a woman.
Yeah.
About time you told him.
So, yeah.
What? Like,
I was doing
you,
one
think,
of my.
you ever see the movie? You ever see the show Dexter?
Yeah,
Sure.
of course.
You know, Dexter has his dark passenger that he has to feed every once in a while.
yeah,
Sure.
You think this is what men are? They have a dark passenger, and this is the dark passenger.
No, I think that Adam Levine, and I think that I've seen this before, because I've.
By the way, you already gave the wrong answer, but go ahead.
No, I don't think. I think that you get to a level of celebrity and fame. And this isn't true of everybody, and maybe it's true of people who are in that category, who are so fucking narcissistic and delusional that they don't think they're going to get caught, and they think they're entitled to whatever they want with no consequences or ramifications for anything they do. I mean, it's
the getting caught, which is the.
Well, yeah, he didn't think. I mean, how stupid do you have to be in this day and age to send anyone a message without the assumption that other people are going to see it?
See, I don't think I don't think he doesn't think he's going to get caught. He doesn't care. The thing is, there's living in Vegas for 12 years, right? There's two types of poker tournaments. There's the ones where you buy in, and if you lose, you're out. And then there's the ones where you can rebuy and keep. And people in the tournaments where you can rebuy play a lot dumber than they would in a tournament where if you lose, you're out, because they have options. They have an option to come back in and play again. Is it financially smart? No, but they play differently because they know they can get bailed out.
No, this guy's now saying,
Well, I don't think-
I made this grave error. The only thing I care about in this world is my wife and my children. And
But if he didn't get caught, he wouldn't be saying any of this shit.
Right, exactly.
That's right. And I'm saying he's playing this game not thinking he can't get caught. Just thinking, if I get caught, so what's going to happen? What? So she's leaving, so that's half my money, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I think he would care very deep. I think he would care very deeply about that. I certainly don't think he wanted in any way, shape, or form to be caught.
I don't think if you're at the point where you're talking about naming your fucking kid after a woman you're with, like that to me is just, the guy he's just sick, dude. He's like,
Agreed.
yeah, like, look,
What's
I
this?
look at it from this point of view. Why would I cheat on my wife?
Oh, this is good.
okay.
Dan, read it.
Well,
This is from Adam Levine. Go ahead.
Adam Levine says a lot is being said about me right now, and I want to clear the air. I was on Revevu avec Nikos with Dan Naturman, and it was completely appropriate. I used poor judgment in speaking with anyone other than my wife in any kind of flirtatious manner. I did not have an affair. Nevertheless, I crossed the line during a regrettable period in my life. I think that's
Continue.
well, that's enough.
No, keep
In
going.
certain
In certain instances, it became inappropriate. I've addressed that and taken proactive steps to remedy this with my family. My wife and my family is all I care about in the world.
To be this naive.
Continue.
To be this naive and stupid. I'm not adding any. There's nothing. To be this naive and stupid enough to risk the only thing that truly matters to me was the greatest mistake I could ever make. I will never make it again. I take full responsibility. We will get through it, and we will get through it together. Okay.
All right, first of all, I would have told him to drop the word proactive. This just doesn't sound heartfelt enough. I'm going to be very proactive about this.
So did a publicist
Well,
write this?
I posed the question on Twitter: when has a model and a rock star relationship ever worked out? And I thought it was an open and shut case. But then somebody came back to me. What about Iman and David Bowie? I'm like,
That's
you know,
right.
Okay,
you're fucking
one.
You're right.
You
But it's
got
astounding
one.
that it ever worked. It's astounding it ever happened. And I think there was one other one, by the way.
I'm sure there are other examples too, but fair enough. But I mean, so this is, I don't know. The whole thing is just unbelievable. What are you thinking?
Everybody
about?
loves their family when they get caught. All
Right.
of a sudden, right?
And he probably does love his
He
family.
loves his family.
I don't doubt he loves Bahati.
He loved that Instagram pussy a little bit more, though. What?
I
Pussy
think-
is pussy and family is family. No,
what I always think about in these instances is that's like, there's probably dozens of other women.
Oh, for sure.
Dozens. And
Hundreds.
And the reason he thought no one could come forward is because, 99
had.
out of 100 keep quiet.
That's right.
And this one went public.
It's a numbers game.
It's a numbers game. I would say that infidelity is extremely common in history and in the world. And 9 out of 10 men or women who remark about this have their own past.
Shuli, we're talking about to you.
Hey, you speak from experience, man. I ain't no saint.
Well, back before I was married, I got caught doing stuff, but
Right. So,
I had to wait till I had low T before I could control myself.
But here's the thing: as anybody who's cheated knows, you do not cheat with the expectation of getting caught. Right? I mean, you don't
course not.
think you're going to get caught.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So on that level, the level of fame that Adam Levine has, to think that he was not going to get caught is just absolutely delusional.
Well, there's an old saying: when the dick go hard, the brain goes soft.
Mm.
Perhaps that's applicable in this particular case.
Well, look at Arnold. Arnold thought he had it
Yes.
figured out. He said, I can't do it. I'm going to get caught no matter what. I'll do it with my housekeeper.
I'll shit where I eat and then
And
make
then-
her clean it up.
And then the kid came out looking just like Arnold.
Whoopsie cakes.
By the way, I will say that this Instagram model that was that we just saw,
Sumner.
Sumner. I'm not saying I would refuse her, but I was not particularly
Not your type.
blown away by her. She was very cheesy
Yeah.
and very like plasticky.
Well, you didn't know her when she was
It's
younger.
possible, right? When she was
young
younger.
and naive.
You're-
When she was young and naive.
If you would have met her 3 lips ago, you would have met a whole different person, Dan.
Now, do
and
you
that
know
may
what
well
his
that
wife
may well
looks
be.
like?
That may well be.
Have you seen his wife?
Yeah, she's very beautiful. You can put her up on the screen, Nicole, if you would not mind. Bahati. Her name is Bahati.
Yeah,
That's not
and I-
Bahati. That's the
That's Sumner.
That's
Yeah.
some. Well, you know what?
She's not bad,
She's not
Dan.
bad. She's not bad.
She photographs better than she videos.
I would say Sumner is certainly nothing to sneeze at, but a
We
little.
want to see Bahati.
But let's see Bahati.
The hottie.
This girl has now, garnered God knows how many tens of
Well, she
millions.
felt she was
of-
manipulated.
Yeah,
you know?
she was manipulated. I wish I were manipulated like that.
Are you getting Bahati, Nicole?
Yep.
That's
yeah.
Bahati Primslu in her Victoria's Secret regalia.
Guys, that's the tough time Adam was going through
Yeah.
when he made the mistake. And
Noam, you.
I'll tell you, it never ceases to amaze me how you can get tired of anyone. You know, I mean, you recall Hugh Grant was married to what's her name?
No, it wasn't Paulina Poroscope.
No,
it
Hugh
was-
Grant.
Yeah.
Liz Hurley.
Yes,
Elizabeth
yes,
Hurley,
yeah.
Who's gorgeous and
Stunning.
cheated on her with literally a street prostitute.
Yeah,
And there's
and
no
then-
nice way to say street
Is that
prostitute.
cheating?
I don't know if there's.
Like, no, I'm looking at it as a tax.
Wait.
deduction.
That's cheating? Because I got to write an Instagram post if that's cheating.
Yeah, well, technically that might not be considered cheating in certain circles, but the fact that he felt the need to go to a prostitute, what was her name? Divine Brown?
Yeah.
Yes.
Who was, I guess, she was okay looking, but she was no Liz Hurley.
What would you say is the more embarrassing part of his story? Getting caught with a street prostitute, or having to go on the Tonight Show to talk about it immediately?
Well, he didn't
after? You
have to go
remember?
on the Tonight
He
Show.
decided to do it, but it was the first
Clear
time
the-
a celebrity kind of like faced something head on, and
He
and-
probably did have to do it. Actually, wasn't she also trans?
I don't know.
Oh, I don't
believe
know.
so. No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I think so.
I
I think she. I'm
that
pretty
rings a bell to
sure.
me,
I'm
too.
pretty
Does
sure.
not ring a bell to me.
Stand by while.
But if that's the
probably heard it
case,
from you.
But however, if she is trans, that kind of explains it because that's an itch that he needed to scratch. It wasn't just another woman, but another kind of experience. But I don't think she was trans. No, I don't think so.
Yeah, going back to what you'd said about people don't cheat in the hopes of getting caught. It's like people don't smoke a cigarette thinking they're going to smoke a pack and a half a day later
Right.
down the road. Like it's something in them, whether it's doing it behind that person's back.
You must have had women throwing themselves at you, your proximity to.
Well,
the Stern
sometimes that
show.
happens.
Not you, Dan.
Oh,
I'm
sorry.
Yeah, when I first started working for the show, we were doing these big comedy tours with Artie and Florentine and all these guys, and it was this wild circus show. We had Beetlejuice with us. We had a guy who
You can't get laid with the juice.
I mean, I watched this guy close deal after deal.
No, seriously, Beetlejuice did?
Oh my God, believe me.
Were you married at the time?
No, I wasn't married at the time. At the very beginning, I wasn't, and for me, being on the road single was a blast. But once I met my wife, once I found the person that I actually
You became proactive.
gave a shit and listened to, you know what I mean? Like, that was different for me. And
It does seem to be the case that certain guys, like Paul McCartney, who we brought up numerous times, doesn't have the urge to bang everything in sight.
Well, not that we know of.
Not that we know of.
Listen, I went from running 4 or 5 open mics in Vegas to coming to New York, and now all of a sudden, women are messaging me going, "I'm a huge fan. Let's hang out." And it's like, you didn't know I even fucking existed, and until I got here a month ago. So the temptation, it's very easy to get caught up in it, and when you're in a relationship, maybe for a long time, and that person and you kind of butt heads here and there, and then you have this person that's praising you and complimenting you and giving you all this, love, and you're just like, well, I'll go over here for a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So
I
what
get
you're
it.
saying is that when women treat their husbands like shit,
It's a two-way street too, yeah.
or vice versa.
What
Yeah,
argument
absolutely.
are you making in your head right now?
No, I'm just trying to read between the lines of what he's saying. You said it's like he's been talking a lot, right? And all of a sudden, he said a few sentences that sounded like he really came from the heart. And he says, when somebody starts praising you, and she what did you say exactly? Like when somebody's they give you a hard time,
Complimenting you. Oh, when you butt heads.
when you butt heads, and then someone's treating you nicely, like he's like speaking from the heart there.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
But another guy, Ray Romano. There's another example of a guy who I think we don't know, but it would not be ridiculous to assume that he's reasonably, if not entirely, faithful, even when he was younger and at the top of his fame. So just different guys have different, I think, levels of compulsion
Listen.
and need.
Now, I heard a story recently from someone who would know that claimed, I don't even know if I should say it on the air,
Well, but you have a tendency of starting things and then, either don't bring it
that
up.
a former president, I don't want to say the name of the president, that a former president who nobody would believe.
Barack Obama.
Barack Obama.
You want Dan to say this in French? So you'll be covered?
Had a dalliance.
So Barack Obama?
I'm not saying who it was, and that's why I won't say who it was, but that's why he and Michelle were in counseling.
Your hands are clean. You did nothing wrong.
That was very elegant.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
But in this day and age, for you to be in entertainment,
If you're, go ahead.
and in the whatever in the internet world, to commit something to digital writing,
Yeah.
something that people can save and hold on to, is just it's moron.
Imprudent,
That's
Yeah.
right.
obviously. We all agree on that.
Yeah.
That we all
That's the
agree.
main sort of thing, though, is to cheat. It's like you can understand that people are flawed, right? And all of these temptations and rock star and all of it. Like you get that sometimes people cheat. So fine. But to take it to that next level of committing in such it's so obnoxious and it's just insane. Like what is going through your head? Like that you think you're so impervious to getting caught, or it's just, it doesn't make any sense. Like it's almost like you want to get busted.
A lot of them do. I had a prostitute hard sell me in Vegas once. I was sitting at a poker machine, and I just hit Royal Flush, so it was like $1,200. So I'm waiting to get paid out, and all of a sudden this beautiful woman just sits down next to me out of the blue, like dropped from the sky. She's like, "Hey, how are you doing tonight?" And I go, "Great, how are you?" I'm such an idiot, thinking she wants to talk to me. And she goes, "I'm doing great." She's like, "Big win." I go, "Yeah, it's crazy." I go, "It doesn't happen all the time." She says, "You want to hang out?" And that's why I'm like, "Oh, okay." I go, No, I'm good." I go, I have a girlfriend, and she goes, "Listen, if you're going to do something behind her back, don't you want it to just be physical, no emotional attachment? We're just going to go and have fun." And I go, "No, I'd rather not do either of them. Thank you." And she was like, $20 blowjob. I go, "I'll meet you up back." So, no. But yeah, it's just the options in front. You have to, I think if you've been cheated on, that helps make those decisions down the road. I'm sure you go into revenge mode for a little while in the next relationship maybe, but I think once you've been stabbed in the heart like that by somebody, I think it's much harder. It would be much harder for me to cheat on somebody after I felt what I was going to make them feel. You know what I'm saying?
Well, Chris Rock once said that men are as faithful as their options.
Sure.
But I think he's wrong. As you've just illustrated, and the examples that I cited illustrated, many men have many options, and even if they do cheat once in a while, they're not cheating anywhere near in proportion to their options. Even if Ray Romano cheated once or twice, and I don't think he did, it's far less than his options, and the same is true with McCartney.
What's the number? Is there a number on these options? Can we?
I mean, I'm sure the options are endless.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Man is not as faithful as his options. Man is far more faithful, typically, than his options.
How many cheats are you allowed based on your options? Is the question I'm looking for.
What do you think is a reasonable number?
Right?
Well, I mean, that's
In proportion
the
to how
question
long
for the
you've
for
been
the
married?
ages, you know.
Call a Vegas sportsbook and find
Look,
out.
Noam's brain is going a mile a minute.
I mean,
here.
I'm thinking about a lot of things. First of all, like for every person that says essentially what Shuli just said about, you shouldn't cheat and you're, after you've been hurt and blah, blah, blah. And we've heard men say this kind of thing before. 80% of them have cheated. Like 80% of them.
after they've
Sure.
been cheated on, or
And
before?
in other words, yeah, there's no limit to what people will say and be lying. There's just no limit to it. I'm not saying he cheated or not. I'm just saying, like, there's just no limit to it.
Have you ever been cheated on?
I'll put it this way: once. There's no
Once.
reason to think anything. I would not give. This is not personal to him. This is just on GP. Just disregard everything he said to the extent that it tells you anything about what he has or has not done. That's what I would tell you about men. There's just nothing he said.
That may be true, but it still doesn't negate the reality that there are men with a lot more options
Right.
than they actually utilize.
Well, but options are not the only thing. It's also what's the
Risk versus reward.
no, what's the happiness of your relationship? Like, there's a lot of things that go on in the equation.
and certainly there are
how
some.
many
men-
drinks have you had? There's stupid things like that.
How many drinks you have factors in, huh?
Oh, of course it does. I think
Are we to take from this, Noam? I mean, given your what you're saying, this one might find it reasonable to believe that you've cheated on Juanita since your marriage.
no, don't do that, Dan. I'm a man who's lived in the world, and I know all sorts of things about all sorts of people, and I know what they say to the outside world, and I know what goes on. I know how musicians. I just know. I know it all. We all do, don't we? and I'm just like, you guys are all full of shit, and you're all full of shit. And I mean, you.
But how do we know? All right, but I'm just saying, you know yourself, and so you know.
You don't know. But what I'm saying is, I wouldn't even have. I have such an honest view of human nature. I wouldn't even. I think it's even stupid to ask me. That's what I'm saying. Like, what the fuck are you going to learn from my answer, yes or no?
Well, I'm not. But I'm not
done?
asking you.
You
I'm
should-
not
you should
asking you. I'm just.
Just disregard
I'm
what a man
saying-
says about any of these things. It's
Fair
all
enough,
bullshit.
fair enough. But
Yeah.
but we can still agree that from what we know, it seems very likely that
I
either
got caught cheating on 9/11,
Yeah, we know that.
and but one
It's
one
still a great story every
one
time.
thing
though.
for sure is
Two
true
9/11s in one day.
that as you get older, like everything men do that's bad, like rape and murder and car accidents and everything, as you get older, the frequency goes way down.
I haven't killed anyone in years.
Yeah, so
But we can look at a guy like Ray Romano, and we could say he's probably, if he has cheated, it's a lot less than he could have.
It was probably an accident.
And it's just what we know about the guy.
Yeah, I what I know about his personality would seem to imply that he'd just be less taken with that stuff. Like I have two of my closest friends who are married in their early 20s, and there's no hint that either of them have ever cheated on their wives. They really seem to be faithful to their wives, and this is talking about almost 40 years married, each of them. But
Do you think women cheat
but I don't
less
necessarily
than
believe
men?
them. I don't know what.
Do you think women cheat less than men?
Of course they do. Don't you remember the Ashley Madison thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It turned out to be all
It's like
men and hookers.
94%.
Well, I
dudes.
have to tell you something. I have.
For people who don't know, Ashley Madison was this online thing, was supposed to be like a anonymous where you could
For
sign up
men and women to have affairs.
men and women to have affairs, and somebody hacked their database and got and released their entire
Their entire
subscriber
wa-
list.
Yeah.
And it turned out to be almost 100% men.
That doesn't
and
surprise
hookers.
me, though. That's hilarious. That doesn't surprise
So in other words,
me.
no women were looking to have affairs on this website.
But when I think, I mean, this is anecdotal, but I have a few really close friends, and the women have had more affairs than my male friends have had. So I know a lot of women who have.
Yeah, women will cheat. They usually cheat with somebody they know, which is worse in a way. And they might even cheat with a friend of the family. And they'll cheat when they're unhappy.
Yeah. But don't men cheat when they're unhappy also? Like, I don't think anybody's in a great relationship who's fucking somebody else. No comment. No comment.
Well,
I don't think it matters to men.
Really?
I don't think it matters.
Really?
Yeah.
Shuli, thoughts on that?
Well, I think a guy who's going to do it, like, yeah, that it's just about doing it. It's all
Right,
that
it's-
other shit
right,
doesn't
right.
factor in. It's like it's one gear in that car.
Right. Yeah, fair enough. I guess that checks out.
Yeah.
Men are disgusting. And it's quite a burden to be one. All right.
Get off the cross. We need the wood when you get a chance. Thanks.
So, Shuli seems believable.
Did I pass the Noam lie detector test?
I mean, when Howard Stern used to talk about how he never cheats, I'm like, I just don't believe it.
Well, when you're that famous and you go around saying you never cheated and nobody's coming forward and saying, actually, yes, you did with me, then there's some credibility.
Yeah.
I used to suspect that he and Robin were having an affair because, whatever, who knows?
I don't. Well,
I used to
maybe.
suspect that. He says
Maybe. Well, Robin was dating our dear friend Jim Florentine.
Yeah.
one time, yeah.
Yeah.
Are you the only Jew in Huntsville? I've been dying to
Probably
ask
not
that.
if it's a high-tech town.
No,
and
there's another guy, but they got him. So I gotta watch my back. It's funny they don't even know Jews. out there.
Shuli Egar is not a name like Harvey Weinstein that
Right.
the average person would even know what the hell it is.
Right.
You could say it's not that anything you said would be much better, but you could say it's Armenian or Lebanese.
right.
And they'd probably say okay. They wouldn't know one way or the other. I wouldn't have known if you didn't for the name Shuli Egar.
You wouldn't know that was
if you had
Israeli?
told me that was Azerbaijani, I would say okay. You know.
Really?
It's not yeah, it's not an obvious name.
Well, it's to someone who's Israeli, right?
Oh,
Unless
right,
somebody's Israeli, but anybody else, certainly in Alabama.
Two people would know that's not Azerbaijani. Israelis and
Azerbaijan.
But no, they're like they don't know Jews out there, so they're like to them I'm just a white guy. Like they don't like I'll do the Jew jokes and it goes over their head and
they know there's something about you they don't like, but they can't put their finger on
I
it.
tell them, I said you guys will hate us by the time I'm done. Trust me, I'll do it.
They know something's wrong.
I'll teach you.
But you can't do Jewish material in Huntsville in that area.
You can't.
Unless it's very easy stuff like about being cheap. But you can't talk about, I ate shrimp.
Right.
And do a joke about. I don't think they know that you're not supposed to eat shrimp.
I never open with Shabbat Shalom, everybody. I never open with.
Or can you believe it was Yom Kippur and and I had something to eat? They wouldn't know that was wrong. Or
Right.
You're not supposed to do that. But something like, well, I'm Jewish, so you know what they say. So I like to something about being cheap. They would respond.
Yeah. No, it's good because it gets you writing and doing different stuff, and I like it. And I'm learning more about the South. And it's
I don't really have
so different.
I don't have any Jewish jokes in my act, not because it's not perfectly obvious that I'm Jewish, but they don't know enough, generally speaking, for it to be funny.
All right, well, it's time to go. I have to go home.
It's time to go. Podcast. Thank you, Shuli Egar. Is it pronounced Egar?
Agar.
Does that have a meaning? Is that a
Used to
Hebrew
be Jaeger originally was our
word? Jaeger.
Yeah.
It's hard to hear the word Jaeger and not think of Attell saying Jaeger.
Yeah.
But in any case, Shuli.
Do people still drink Jägermeister? I haven't even seen that. It was so in for a while.
I haven't drank Jaeger since I was cheating.
Shuli Egar or Egar. Thank you for coming. The Shuli Show.
Shuli Show.
It's a podcast that talks about your life and your times with Howard, but also everything else.
Yeah, it's actually very rarely about Howard and my times there. There's a lot of different stuff I'm doing there. You're an old veteran of the show. You remember Stuttering John?
Yeah,
I did Stuttering John's podcast a couple months ago. Anyway.
So for years he
doesn't really stutter that much.
He's had a thing for me. Like he would trash me and he would accuse me of things while I worked for Howard that could have potentially got me in a lot of trouble. And I always took the high road. And he's been doing a podcast for about 5 years now. And he's built a following of people who pull clips of his podcast where he screws up things or says stupid things. And so one of my side podcasts that I do now is I just play clips of his podcast and
great.
dissect. It's called the Uncle Rico Show, named after the character Napoleon Dynamite, who sadly only lives in the glory days. So that's a thing we're doing. The Miserable Men Show. Myself and a bunch of comics do another podcast. So go to the Shuli Show, Shalom Shuli on social media.
And if you're ever in Huntsville, stop by for Shabbos lunch.
Yeah.
Shuli's house.
Can you try to get Sumner on the show for next week?
Well, I'm sure her agenda is probably pretty
Why
full.
don't you just DM her? No, I'm sure.
I would literally. Okay, if you could have either Adam Levine or Sumner on the show, who would you rather have?
Sumner.
Yeah, I think so.
Absolutely,
I think so.
right?
Adam's not going to say shit.
Yeah, Sumner.
Sumner would be awesome.
But we're not going to get Sumner.
Or even a friend of Sumner's.
I think we'd have a better shot at Barack Obama than Sumner at this point.
I think we have a fully reasonable shot of getting Sumner. All she wants to do is
Right.
media. Like,
Right.
what are you talking about?
You're acting like she doesn't
Well,
want the
then
attention.
Right? Yeah,
Yeah.
she's a victim. Her victimization.
Well, then give her, try to get in contact with her. My guess is it's going to be quite difficult to do, but give it a try. Periel Aschenbrand, thank you for coming.
Ask her if we can pay her by the minute.
Once again, Nicole Lyons.
How does it work?
Yeah.
Fans only? Like you pay them?
All right,
Only
well,
fans.
I thought I was
OnlyFans?
trying to finish.
I'm sorry. I'm just saying, like, so we could actually, if we could just pay her, OnlyFans to talk to her.
She's not a motel. No.
No, but though they did it, like they live chat with you for money, right?
No, but I don't think she does that.
No,
I mean,
here's
I
what
don't
you
think
do.
you're talking about porno, and I don't think she does porno.
it's not just porn. Whatever.
I don't.
If there's some way,
Okay, to pay her.
pay for on demand and make that a podcast.
You're gonna have to bump one of your legal scholars if you really want.
No,
it.
I think they would love it.
I don't mean to go full Israeli here, but I think you don't have to pay her at all. All you got to do is send her a message and go, can't believe how you were manipulated. We'd love to hear your side of this.
Well,
It's full Jewish psychology.
I don't really prefer. I don't like to. What you're suggesting is a little bit dishonest. As far as I'm concerned. I don't know if you're being serious or not, but I prefer to be with guests. Let them know what they're in for. If it's going to be, adversarial, then I think they should know that.
But sometimes you don't know if it's going to be.
Sometimes you don't.
adversarial.
Sumner is not going to be adversarial. It's going to be, yes, we understand. That's terrible what he did.
What a
Well,
monster.
if that's how you want to do it, then fine.
Why would we be adversarial with Sumner?
Well, you don't need to be adversarial, but you also don't need to just agree with her either and tell her
Well,
that,
she said
that
that
she was manipulative.
Okay, so you can be the bad cop, and everybody else will be the good
She
cop.
said that she thought that he was having problems in his marriage and they were splitting up, and he just wasn't saying that because he didn't want it to go public. That's what I'm sure he told her.
Right.
He's disgusting.
Well, look,
He should be ashamed of himself.
He's
Sumner,
the
can I
worst.
just tell you?
look. I mean, there are limits. If he said, "I love you and I want to marry you and I'm breaking up with my wife," then yeah, he did manipulate her. I mean, maybe.
Well,
you
how
know.
about saying I want to name my unborn child
that
after
is a
you?
weird move.
That's
man.
manipulative.
Yeah.
Podcast at comedyseller.com.
Okay, let me just say one more thing about this. 'Cause it really, as much as I'm trying not to be judgmental and I'm pushing back because I know that it's holier than now is something I don't ever want to be. Can you imagine if he named that child Sumner and he knew every day that this child was named after his mistress?
Yeah.
And can you imagine if someday the mother of that child finds out that this child was named? I mean, this is cruel
It's horrible.
and gratuitous. Like it's horrible because it's not necessary. You should it's not necessary to the goal of just trying to get laid. It's almost sociopathic. It actually is.
Well, I don't know that he would have done that, but maybe, find it hard to believe he really would have named the kid Sumner, but in any case.
He also went on the Tonight Show I think it was Tonight Show or some show, and he had his guitar, and they asked him to play the theme song from Sesame Street. Maybe like Jimmy Fallon does like a karaoke thing or something like
Right.
that. And he came in the wrong key, which was interesting to me.
Unforgivable.
No, it was just interesting to me. Like
Says a lot about a guy, huh?
it is a little tricky that the way the chord is in Sesame Street, you could hear it being one of two different keys, kind of. but only a less talented musician would have come in on the wrong key. You could probably find it on YouTube. That always stuck with me about Adam Levine. Like, he's not a genius. He's not a musical genius. He's good. He may be a clever songwriter, but he didn't come in the right key on Sesame Street.
That's crazy because he did at Howard's birthday bash. He did Purple Rain cover, and was like, it was amazing. It was really, really good. So it's interesting that
Oh, he's good, and I'm sure if he practiced it or whatever, he'd be great.
Doesn't he have that like super famous like feminist song, Nicole? That's like all these big like well-known women are with him on stage.
I'm not sure. I mean, I get that vibe. His Instagram has like all these pictures of like supporting women.
Do we all agree in general that you really ought to be cautious about the guy who's like, what was his recent scandal of the guy in charge of the company who was always talking about how he loved women and treating women and it turned out he was banging women left and right, and he was using his company as a way to seduce them.
I mean, how many ministers or whatever, evangelists are sitting there, railing on gay people, and then you come to find out that they're having relationships and
that's
stuff,
right.
Like,
You're saying beware the male feminists.
Girls Like You video is a who's who of feminists. This is June 2018. It's
By the way, we don't know that just because he cheated doesn't make him anti-women.
no, nobody's denying that he loves women.
no, absolutely.
Maybe too much.
What does that say?
I mean, one can be a feminist and still cheat.
What was that company where the guy was seducing all the women? Was it just a few weeks ago? My memory's going.
I said men shouldn't be making laws about women's
Did
bodies.
Adam Levine?
Oh,
Did
yeah.
Adam
6
Levine?
of them.
6. Oh my God. Wow.
Comments turned off.
Yeah, this is a perfect example. Like, just do not trust a guy like that. He's doing it to get laid.
It's so true. The louder they're yelling about it, the dirtier they are when it comes to it.
But also, isn't a law saying abortion is legal a law about women's bodies?
Right.
Anyway,
Yeah, pick one.
that's the flaw that I find in that argument.
And let me tell you, I know we have to go, and let me tell you why I know this. Just to punctuate my point, I've said this before, but you guys will agree. Like, on racial issues, you could sit around with a bunch of guys, and like if somebody were to say something racist, everybody like, what the fuck's the matter with you? Like people will actually say in small groups of dudes things about how awful racism is, whatever. I have never been in a group of guys where anybody ever said anything about a woman where another guy said, oh, no, you shouldn't talk that way about women. It's just like it doesn't exist. And certainly no man has ever said in a group of guys, men shouldn't make laws about it's the kind of thing a man only says
but men
for the audience of women.
But men will say in a group of guys that abortion should be legal.
If it comes up, they'll say, I'm pro-choice. But they won't use that construction. Men, in other words,
Mike Kaplan would.
maybe, well, you're right. But even in other words, this kind of, when they pretend to feel about feminism, whatever it is.
Well, even
that's
one better.
Totally false.
How many guys are involved in picking the name for their kid?
I was.
I was too, but like you think like a majority of the stuff, the guys are like, whatever you say, honey. They just go along with the
You
flow.
guys are just disgusting. I don't know what to tell you.
It's just painting a picture of reality.
No, I get it.
We're on the outside of that picture. We're not.
Oh my God!
Wow.
Is that actually his shirt?
Yeah.
Adam Levine is. Let the record show. Adam Levine is wearing a shirt that says "feminist."
That is amazing.
Well, he's making fuck eyes at somebody across the room.
Well, I mean, again, to be fair, there's nothing he did that was not feminist.
Oh, really? Really, Noam?
What?
Fucking a slew of other women while your wife is pregnant and offering to name your unborn child after some fucking girl you met on Instagram? That's not anti-feminist?
Well, we don't know how close they.
What define feminist?
Pro-women, pro-equal rights.
Yeah, I think he's for equal rights.
He's definitely pro women.
He's pro. I don't think it's anti-women. It's just
anti-one woman.
Well, if he were gay, he'd fuck another dude. It's not about that. It's not about gender feelings. It's about not being true in a relationship. It's not anti-women.
Yeah, he's more pro scumbag than anti-women.
He's just being a dick. It's
In other words, he may well be in favor of equal rights and likely is. He may well be in favor of abortion and he likely
He
is.
better be. Yeah.
He may well be in favor of equal opportunities And he likely is. But he also...
I feel bad
cheating,
for his
so-
wife.
I mean, I'm pretty sure if you were to take the survey, it's the less feminist a guy is, the probably more he respects traditional married relationships. Right? It's kind of like pro-family. all that stuff.
Bullshit too. By that.
But we
Not
do
buying
agree.
any
But we
of-
do agree that a guy that has the temerity to post "Don't make laws about women's bodies" is suspicious.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. Oh no, a guy who wears a feminist T-shirt is suspicious.
Very suspicious.
Yeah.
And there was a great SNL sketch about that where a guy is like, goes into a bar and he's got like a shirt that says "The future is female," and he's talking to this girl and he's like, "Hey, you want to go out?" And she's like, "Oh no," and he's like, "What the fuck, man? I get he doesn't use the F word because it's SNL, but he's like, what do you mean? Like, I got a shirt that says "The future is female."
Yeah.
He's getting all outraged. It's a really funny sketch. On SNL. But anyway, okay, are we finished?
I'm against
No,
your
we're not
logic.
finished.
I'm
Okay.
against this. It's like if you rape someone, does that also mean that you're not like you can also be a feminist, but you're raping people, but like you believe in equal rights and equal pay? I mean, no, you don't get to both of those things. It doesn't pan out.
I don't know that rape is analogous to
I'm not making
having a consensual affair, but to answer your
Well,
question,
she said she felt manipulated. Sumner.
Well,
our
I would
ne-
have
our
to hear.
next
We'd have to
guest.
hear her side of the story.
to answer your question, I want to say
yeah.
again that if it was a gay man who,
But it's not,
who
so-
cheated on his boyfriend or husband or raped another man, it just has. I don't think it has anything to do with the issue of how you think genders should be treated or whatever. It's just a selfish, sociopathic act to satisfy yourself at the expense of others. It has nothing to do with your political point of view. That's all I'm saying.
Could Ted Bundy be a feminist?
Oh, let me put it this way. You could be a racist or not a racist. If you steal from a black person, that's not an indication of how you feel about racism. You might be totally against racism, but you stole from a black dude, not because you stole. You want the money. You know, you're not. It's that the race doesn't matter to you. Whatever. That would be my answer.
Adam, DM me. I'll bang you, dude.
Okay. Bye, everybody.